Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Lanzarote News from me, Mike, at Lanzarote Information. Loads to tell you about this week. There was a horrific crash in Puerto del Carmen. A child was saved from drowning. We're going to talk about Irish tourism and French tourism. I'll give you an update on the weather here this week. And don't forget to stay tuned until the end, where I'll tell you about 3 things you could be doing in the next week or so if you're here on the island. And by the way, for our Scottish viewers, have a great Burns night. We're going to a Burns night dinner with some Scottish friends and some other English friends here on the island, and we're really looking forward to it. So let's kick off with a quick weather update for you, and we have had some proper weather this week. We had quite heavy rain on Wednesday, heavy enough to get the barrancos flowing, which are the watercourses that take water down from the mountains here on the island. That was heavy and lasted quite a long time. We had a few showers on Thursday, but the end of the week now is absolutely glorious. I'm looking around at the sky, and the beginning of the week was absolutely glorious. So we're back to normal winter weather here with blue skies, sunshine, and temperatures in the mid-20s. So let's crack on with the news now, and the first is the story about the child who was saved from drowning. And this was a British child who was in the water at Playa Honda, and a Polish lady whose name is Katarina Porada, who was a tourist on the island, heard the mother screaming and dived into the sea and pulled the young lad out of the water. So the story had a happy ending and all was well, apart from the fact that Katarina lost her specs in the process. Hopefully she's had a new pair made very quickly and she's able to see well, but a good ending to a story that could have been quite scary. Now, the first of the 2 accidents I said I'd talk about, this was a truck which was on Montaña Mina. Now, you might remember I've reported about the wind turbines there being taken down over the last few weeks. Well, this truck was going up Montaña Mina to collect some of the parts that had been dismantled from the wind turbines, and it tipped over. And really quite scary, because that's a very, very steep hill. Fortunately, it stopped on the first turn, because if it had rolled down all the way down the hill, it would have caused absolute chaos. The driver had injuries to his legs, but they're not that serious, I gather, and he's recovering in hospital. Now, Irish tourism has increased here by 40% in the last 10 years. And in 2024, we had 344,000 Irish tourists come to the island. And when you think of the population of Ireland, that's an incredible number. It's massively the biggest percentage of a country's population that comes to one holiday destination. And in fact, we now have more Irish visitors than we do German and Italian combined. And when you compare their relative populations, you'll realise that that is truly an astonishing number. So thank you to all our Irish viewers for watching these videos and choosing to come to spend your holidays here on this island. But also French tourism is at an all-time high. Last year we had over 200,000 French tourists visit the island, and for them the big months were March and April, so they tend to be sort of spring visitors rather than any other time of the year. Now, I mentioned we had rain this week, and we had it on Wednesday. It was quite significant rain. The first, I would say, significant rain we've had for probably a couple of years. We have barrancos either side of our house, and I haven't seen them flow for 2 years, but this year they did flow, and on Wednesday that happened. It wasn't significant, but it was enough to get the water flowing through them. But we also had a warning on Wednesday for really big waves on the island, and these tend to happen when we have a strong southerly wind, as we did, and there were waves of up to 5 meters here on Wednesday. But as I said at the top, that's all calmed down now and everything is back to normal. Now, switching back to tourism, and again, if you've been watching these weekly bulletins, you'll know that this was coming. We had a record number of cruise ship passengers visit the island last year in 2024. The number reached 610,000, and that's up 21% on the previous year. So we are fast becoming a real cruise stop destination. And what the main cruise lines tend to do is they move their ships away from the Med in the winter months because the weather just isn't great there, and they bring them down to the Canary Islands because we do tend to have much better winter weather, and it's obviously significantly warmer for their passengers. Now, Arrecife are in the process of building a proper cruise terminal there. One of the things we have at the moment is that although cruise ships can stop here, people can't embark or disembark the ships in Lanzarote because we don't have the infrastructure of a terminal with baggage handling and immigration and all those kind of things. Well, that's currently being built. So the mayor of Arrecife is aiming to have Lanzarote as a starting off point or a finishing point for cruises around the islands in the future. Now, I mentioned last week that Costa de Gizeh are refurbishing one section of the promenade where they are putting in new lighting, which is very much needed, and that work is underway currently. But they've also announced a new project to refurbish the pavement in the section of promenade that runs sort of up towards Los Ancones, so it's from Playa Las Cucharas to Sands Beach Resort, for example. And this is good news because that section of the promenade is really quite rough at the moment and has deteriorated over the last couple of years. So that the project is out for that, and it will be going out to tender and hopefully starting in the very near future. This is the point I ask you please to give this video a like if you do indeed like it, because that helps us in terms of our reach on YouTube. If you have a question or a comment, please put it in comments below. I read every single one of them, and I'm really happy to answer all of them. And it's also the point at which I'd like to thank you for viewing this video. We really appreciate every single view we get. Now, next up, and not good news this, we've had reports this week of very long taxi queues at the airport again. And this is partly as a result of the fact that the island is much busier than it normally is at this time of year. Generally, the period between mid-January and mid-February, when Carnival kicks off, is a relatively quiet time here, and it's a chance for people to do refurbishment, staff training, the car hire companies get their cars serviced and repaired in this period. But for some reason we are super busy, and I'm putting it down to the very poor winter that most places in Northern Europe have suffered from. So the island is absolutely rammed currently, and that has created some big queues once again for taxis at the airport. And I've also heard from a few readers of our Lanzarote information website that they've had issues with buses being full and therefore not able to stop and pick up more passengers. Now, while we're talking about the bus company, they are desperately ordering new buses, hiring new drivers, and planning new routes in the future and increased frequencies on their routes. But those things all take time, and I gather that situation with the buses being too busy isn't likely to settle down until the middle of the year. Now, I mentioned this right at the top, and this is the horrific crash that happened in Puerto del Carmen last Sunday evening. It was on the section of the fast road that kind of runs along the top of Puerto del Carmen. It's the LZ40 for those of you who know the road numbers here. These two cars hit head on. It looks like they were both travelling, well, from the damage, it looks like they were both travelling at quite a speed. One driver was unfortunately declared dead at the scene. The second driver died a couple of days later in hospital. There was a third person in the car, a passenger in one of the cars, who had serious injuries and was taken to hospital. I had news just this morning that to use the translation, his condition is evolving favourably. So it looks like he is going to be okay, but he's probably got a long road to recovery. Nobody really knows at this stage what caused the accident or why they would have hit head on. The two people who were in one car were hotel workers on their way home from work, and the lady in the other car is a lady of 71 years old. They're all locals. The 71-year-old lady was well known on the island, and I don't know why she was travelling at that time of the evening, but we don't know the result of this, and we don't know the reasons behind it, but no doubt it will come out at some point in the future. But our thoughts are with the people affected and the families. And finally on the news, we had news this week that a building has been opened on Playa del Reducto in Arrecife, which is the main beach on the front there in Arrecife, and it has lockers in it. So you'll be able to, if you're going for a swim after work or a swim at any time of the day, you'll be able to lock your belongings away in lockers in this room, and you don't need to worry about, checking back on the beach as we do to make sure that nobody's nicked our handbag or man bag with our car keys and phone in it. That's good news. Now, in the same announcement, the mayor of Arrecife said that they were going to be putting sunbeds and parasols back on the beach on Playa del Reducto. They said the same thing last year and it never happened. So I'm not going to hold my breath, but fingers crossed, because I know that quite a few people who watch these videos and read our website have been asking me over the last couple of years about when are the sunbeds coming back. Well, the answer that I've been given is that this summer we'll see. And now it's time to tell you about 3 things you could be doing next week if you're on the island. Now, who remembers Fame, the TV show? Well, we have something similar here on the island. We have a theatre school, the Lanzarote Theatre School. And each year the seniors at that school give a performance which is free of charge, entry's free, for anyone who wants to go along and enjoy it. And this year's performance is taking place at the Teatro Municipal in Tias. And it's on the 27th of January, starts at 5 p.m. As I say, entry is free. And they're going to be performing songs and dances from Chicago, from Mean Girls, from The Little Shop of Horrors, and from Les Miserables. It sounds like it's going to be a really excellent show, and it's entitled Our Broadway Showcase. So look out for that Monday 27th at 5 p.m. in the theatre in Tias. Now, the next thing I'm going to suggest is a beer tasting on Tuesday the 28th. And this takes place at the Upper Deck Bar in Puerto del Carmen, and it's run by the team behind Wine Tours Lanzarote, but this is very much beer focused. And you'll have an opportunity to taste craft beers and have them explained to you by Dan, who is the beer expert from the team. And it's a really good event. We've done it and we thoroughly enjoyed it. And the beauty of the venue being in the Upper Deck is that they have some really interesting and different craft beers which you probably haven't tried before. And Dan will explain the background of the taste and how to taste beers in the future. So I would highly recommend that. And that kicks off at 5:30 in the evening, and the price is €25 per person. And the next thing I'd recommend is a charity second-hand clothing event which is taking place at Cathy's Pool Bar in Puerto del Carmen. They are in Calle Juan Carlos in the resort. And this is on Friday the 31st of January, and it runs from 12 noon until 4 p.m. in the afternoon. And it's in aid of La Casa de las Estrellas, which is one of the animal charities on the island. And you'll find clothes for sale, books for sale, just general second-hand stuff, and an opportunity to pick up a bargain. So that's Friday the 31st at Cathy's Pool Bar. Well, that's it for this week. Thank you so much for watching. We really, really appreciate every single one of you who takes your time to watch our videos and read our website. Have a great rest of the weekend, and bye for now.